Before we begin today, we want to thank our newest patrons, Ruby and Gabsy. Welcome to the team. Plus, a shout out to our patron, Melissa, who upgraded their pledge. If you want to show your support, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/pod and prejudice. And now, please enjoy our second and final episode covering the 2007 adaptation of Persuasion with our guest, the host of What the Austen, Izzy Meakin.
This is Becca.
This is Molly.
We are here to talk about Jane Austen.
We are here specifically to talk about
Persuasion. Adaptations. Listeners, if you're new here, I, Becca, have read many Jane Austen novels and watched many adaptations of her work through my lifetime.
And I, Molly, am doing all of that for the first time through this podcast.
If you want to hear Molly read through Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, or Emma for the first time, you can listen to seasons 1, 2, and 3 of this podcast respectively, but that is not what we're doing here today.
No, today we are talking about the second half of the 2007/2008 Persuasion, and we are joined again by Izzy Meakin from What the Austen podcast. Hello and welcome back.
Yay! I'm so excited to be back. Thanks, guys.
Yes, it's been a long 5-minute break since we recorded the first episode.
I sounded so dramatic then, like it's been a week since I've seen you.
Right?
Yeah. So, listeners, if you want to hear more about Izzy and her podcast, What the Austen, you should go listen to the first episode that was covering this movie where we discussed all of that. I don't know why you would start with that halfway through the movie with our podcast, but this is your warning to go back and find out more about Izzy there before we continue our coverage of the movie.
Yes, and to remind our listeners where we left off, we were about to go to Lyme, which is where the story really picks up. So let's just get right back into it because we have a lot to cover. As we're riding to Lyme, Anne continues to voice over that it's possible that Wentworth is attached to another, but he still can't see her suffer without interfering because he obviously picked her up and put her on the carriage, which is proof of his good heart, which she cannot contemplate without infinite suffering.
Ugh, I love how dramatic she is.
This book is quite dramatic.
Oh man, it's what if you got into your feelings over an ex, but in 1815?
Yeah, exactly. So they get to the beach in Lyme, and for a moment, Anne and Wentworth are standing alone as everybody else runs off down the shore and saying nothing. And then Harville and Benwick approach, and he cannot get out of there quicker.
Quick note, I recognize the actor who played Harville in this, who we'll talk about it, but has a very expanded role in this movie.
Yes.
But it's Benjen Stark from Game of Thrones.
He looked familiar to me, but not from anything that I've seen. So
I think he's been in like 1,000 things, but the thing I looked him up because I was like, why does he look so familiar? And I think the thing that was sticking out in my brain, and our listeners can correct me if it's another episode of Merlin, but I think it's because he played Benjen Stark on Game of Thrones.
I mean, that would make sense. I've never seen Game of Thrones. I've seen the first season of Game of Thrones. I haven't watched all of it, but
It's a super chill series.
yeah, super chill. Nothing
Nothing
happens.
bad happens.
I have watched it, but I had to watch it like partially with my eyes closed because I don't like violence. So
Not a great show for that.
no.
That's my partner with The Last of Us. Like half the time we're watching it, she has her hand over her eyes and I have to tell her when she can look again.
This is a tangent, and I'm sure our patrons are going to get some Last of Us content at some point, but I've just been texting Molly and Mel every Sunday, happy mushroom trauma day to everybody.
I can't get over we can't talk about it. We can't talk about it. Okay, so they introduce Harville and Benwick, and Wentworth is introducing everybody, and he gets to Anne and he goes, and Miss Elliot. And Harville goes, Miss Anne Elliot?
My favorite part of this whole film, I swear down.
Really?
Because honestly, I love this moment because I'm like, we just know. He's like spoken to his friends about this. This is serious. Like, this is actually serious. And they're clocking it.
Harville, broiest of bros through this entire film, but blowing up his best friend's spot immediately by being like, oh, and Miss Anne Elliot?
Capital.
Just like, wow, I'm meeting you. You're famous in our friendship group.
Right. Like, and it isn't even like a angry Miss Anne Elliot. Like, this means that he's not just talking about her, like talking badly about her. He's also saying that this is the woman that he's loved for the last 8 years.
It's like, oh, that Anne Elliot. And have you ever been, oh, this is Becca. Oh, this is Issy. It's so loaded. I'm impressed with Anne not reacting in the moment.
Yeah, I've had a few of those moments. Or like someone just being like, oh, you're around now. And it's just like, is it odd for me to be around now? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you heard? What do you think about me?
Yeah. And Anne clocks it too. She's like, "Meh." So they go to dinner and Anne is sitting with Bennick and she tells him how sorry she is for his loss. And then Becca's eyes just got huge. Okay, so then we have a conversation that happens much later in the book and does not happen with Bennick. Do you want to tell us, Becca?
Yeah, this is the first of the things in this movie that I was not in on. I did not care for, but it does make Bennick a better character. They take the conversation that Harville and Anne have in Bath together while Wentworth writes the letter, and they make it the conversation that occurs between Bennick and Anne in Lyme. The who's more long suffering, a man or a woman, when it comes to like long lost love or longing for love or sustained love. Beautiful scene. Hearing Sally Hawkins deliver the line about what she will claim for her sex is gonna hit. But that is supposed to be what motivates Wentworth to write his fucking letter.
Yes. And it also is supposed to be about Bennick and his fickleness, right? Like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be spurred on because Bennick goes for Louisa and he's being fickle and that's why Harville doesn't trust he's like I don't understand why he's doing this, but I don't actually hate it here coming from Bennick.
Is you can be the tiebreaker about whether this is good or bad.
I honestly I'm not gonna be able to break this tie for you guys because I genuinely like I don't have a strong feeling either way on this particular point because I actually like that this is like the start of like Anne kind of coming into her own again. And she needs to have these like powerful conversations, right? Where we're actually like, hang on a second, Anne is somebody to be, respected and
Mhm.
admired. And I feel like up until this point, like she has been very much I slip off logs character. So there's something about her just being like, actually, I have arguments and here's my video essay. So
Yeah, she has opinions and agency.
And I do love that, and I think that can be done elsewhere. I just like for me, Wentworth hearing Anne say those words
Mm.
is so crucial to him actually being able to break through and explain how he feels that I was so sad to not have that like two things, those two like moments tied together.
Yes, and I will say, like, they will get to this in this half of the film. They butcher the proposal a little bit. Not butcher, but they do I mean, they cut it up and they put it in a weird order and everything's weird. So, like, this is the start of that. I think if they had kept this where it belonged, the proposal would have gone a lot smoother.
But I do see the argument that this gives us more Anne has agency, Anne is indeed hot, and we cannot stress it enough vibes,
Yes.
which I do think are important here. And it also does I do have disagreements with Jane Austen herself about how sleazy it is for someone to move on quickly after their love has died. And I do think that this story is less harsh on Bennick because he's having this conversation about like longing and love, and because you don't see the pain Harville has that his sister's love has moved on so quickly.
Right.
yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, it's such a debate in itself, isn't it? That's the thing.
yeah.
I mean, he doesn't not say this in the book, right? Like, he is at this point inconsolable and would absolutely have this conversation. So I think that basically the movie, for the sake of time, thought, well, why don't we just combine these two things? And it is taking away the catalyst for the letter. So, like, I totally hear you with like missing that. But I do like it coming here. And also, like, we can't confirm that Wentworth doesn't overhear it because he is sitting down the table from them, right?
I'm going to confirm that Wentworth didn't hear it because if he overheard it, he would have written her the letter right then.
Oh, you're right.
What I kind of love about them moving it like earlier though is I feel like it also just shows like the complexity that to all of this. You know what I mean? That like
Yeah.
everybody's path to live is going to be different. Like for some people, they are going to, be able to like get over something and move on. And that's just going to be different for every single person. I think there is something about showing the contrast between Anne and Wentworth, who've had this long stretch of time where they've not been together and they've got this consistency and constancy to their feelings in comparison to someone else who it doesn't mean they didn't have a deep love for someone, but it's just that, their processing's different and they've been able to get over it and then go for somebody else in a form of healing. I think that's what I've always taken from it, is it's like a way that they come together in like a, a joint kind of healing process.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then Louisa gives a toast to the Navy, which goes to show that Wentworth or is supposed to imply Wentworth will go for anyone between 15 and 30 who appreciates the Navy.
Fact that makes me cringe so much.
I know, she's trying so hard.
It is giving elements of pick me, which I can't handle.
Louisa is a bit of a pick me. Like, oh, you want someone of stern character? I always have stern
I am
character.
determined.
Yeah,
You want someone who likes the Navy? Listen to my speech.
Yeah.
yeah,
To the Navy.
yeah.
Then we go to the Cobb, and the Cobb in this is so gloomy. I kind of love it. It's like it's much more intense Cobb than the Cobb of the 1995 Persuasion, because the water is like crashing up against the side and splashing everybody, and that makes it a lot more dangerous. I think it's probably slippery. So, it's a nice way to kind of make the Cobb seem like a scary place.
This is on my list to visit as well. I definitely want to go and see this.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome.
I definitely want to see the Cobb. It looks gloomy, but it also looks stunning. And I every time I watch Persuasion in any form, I'm like, oh, the beach.
Yeah,
I know we're sad at the beach, but the beach.
the beach. I love to be sad at the beach. So, they're on the Cobb, and Harville and Anne are looking at Bennick being moody and talking about how he only reads poetry, and Anne says, "Well, he is young, and time is a great healer, or at least I am told." Which is, like, so heartbreaking because time has not been a healer for her.
This is what I mean. We get so much of like just incredible lines from Anne from this point on that I
Yeah.
absolutely love, but it is also so tragic. Also, it's so tragic for her that she has to keep having conversations in relation to things that pain her. It's like,
Yeah.
why is the universe doing this to me? Why is this being slapped in my face? It's like she's having to like she's like forced to get over the whole situation. Not get over it, but kind of heal from the whole situation, like vicariously through other characters.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's so one of the things that Austen does with Persuasion is utilize Henrietta and Louisa to tell love stories akin to Anne's in some way, shape, or form. And it really does sort of hit correct because she's doing so much emotional labor for everybody around her that she's like she and Wentworth are navigating their way back to each other by processing through like other people's stories.
Yeah, yeah. I also think the more she talks about it, the more she actually realizes in herself that she's like, actually, I've come way further than I thought I did. I thought I was like stuck in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
past, but actually, like, I'm such a different person now. Like, I've grown in so many ways.
Yeah, and that's so important for her to eventually be able to get back together with him because you can't try to heal an old relationship by doing the same things. Like you have to have changes, and so like she's like being able to examine it in herself through these conversations, which I do love. Then they leave the Cobb, and as they're walking up the stairs, there is a man standing at the top of the stairs, and he sees Anne, and she kind of turns back and like looks at him, and they make eye contact, and Wentworth watches this happen.
To go back to Game of Thrones, this is our guy, Admiral Tully, who is quite famous from Game of Thrones. And also, I've forgotten his name, but the husband slash villain in Outlander. Um,
Yes, he's awful in that.
I mean, good, the
Is it
actor.
Randall?
Yes.
Is it Randall? I don't know if I'm getting that right.
I don't watch Outlander consistently enough to remember. I just remember him playing both her like real life husband and like the real like the modern day and like also like the baddie in like the olden days. He's an excellent actor.
Jonathan Randall.
Yes.
Yes, I also watched Outlander with like my eyes covered as well because that got quite violent at times.
Yeah.
I
I mean, yeah, that show is a lot of things, but I have a vivid memory. This guy has a lot of range, but he does play a villain quite well.
Yeah, but he
Uh,
has kind of kind eyes.
well, in Game of Thrones, without spoiling much, he doesn't play a villain in Game of Thrones. He plays a weenie. Like,
Mm.
He's terrifying in Outlander.
but he also played Prince Philip in The Crown.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my god, this guy is such a fantastic actor.
Yeah, he's been in like everything and he's got real range. So like fun to see him here playing smarmy but charming. Smarming.
He is smarming. Back at the inn, this part cracked me up. They're back at the inn, and Anne is coming down the stairs, and he's coming up the stairs, and they bump into each other, and then she's like, "Excuse me," and she walks past him, go down the stairs, and he turns around and goes back in the direction he came. Like, wasn't he coming upstairs for something?
Well, sometimes you forget because a woman who walks by is so hot that you just forget what you were going to go get. And you're like, I'm sorry, I have to go process.
Which I want to add, this is such a great moment just before they bump into each other. Anne's like looking at herself in the mirror and she's like admiring herself, right? And
Yes.
I'm literally just like, she's having a moment. Like this is Anne's bloom coming back. She's like, hang on a second, I am hot. This guy keeps stopping to stare at me.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's when she's like looking at herself and she's like, huh, what does he see in me? Maybe I can see that in me too.
And then he's just like stumbling down the stairs, like I must follow her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they learn that this is William Elliot, and Mary goes to the window and tries to open her eyes wider with her fingers so that she can see him better. Did you all catch that?
I did not catch that, but I did see it in your notes and it is unhinged.
She goes like this. Hang on. I'm just going to show you for context. She goes to she's like, is it an Elliot? And she goes to the window and she goes, anyway, that'll be just for us and not for the listener.
That's
Yeah, Graham,
so
sorry about that. We
funny.
know it's an audio medium.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm gonna start doing that actually. Like if I can't get a good gauge on what I'm looking at, I'm just gonna be like, just open those eyes a bit more.
Yeah, that was one of our listeners flagged that. And when I watched it the second time, I was like, oh my God, she did. I had to turn back and watch it like 3 times. And then she says it was a pity that they weren't introduced to him. And Anna's like, well, he and father have not been on speaking terms since his unfortunate marriage. And Harville then says, well, it's going to be hard to avoid seeing him in Bath. And I don't know why everyone assumes that everyone's going to Bath, but I guess everyone is always going to Bath. Then, back on the Cobb, Louisa is like, "Catch me, Wentworth," and she comes down the stairs, she jumps, he catches her, and she runs up all the way to the top of the stairs. So the first time it was just like the bottom 3 steps or so. She goes up to the top of the stairs and everyone is like, "No, no, 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 don't." And she jumps, and I did like this one a little bit more because she's not jumping to nobody.
The 1995, one of the really moments of suspending the disbelief is that Louisa just kind of walks up and Wentworth goes, "No, Louisa, be reasonable." And then she just jumps very far from where he's standing. And you have to just believe that she thought he would catch her from there. Whereas here, it happens so quickly, you kind of buy that she's like, thinks he's on it with her.
Although equally she does land quite far away again. And it's just like, girl, what? Why? He's like this in one direction, like his arms are in one direction, and she's like over his other shoulder, just like
Yeah.
miles away.
But it is slippery, so we can deduce that perhaps she fell and slid.
I mean, Wentworth, he never said that good aim was like one of his like things that he needed to tick off. So like equally, maybe she was just like, I'll just jump anywhere. Like this isn't something
I'm
that he needs.
so sorry. I just came up with the meme for this episode.
tell me.
Molly.
Yeah.
It's going to be Gretchen and Karen from Mean Girls. And it's just Gretchen just labeled Louisa and Karen's labeled Wentworth.
Thank you. You did it. You've done it. You've cracked the code.
You're welcome.
That's so good.
Yes. No, but it's so silly every time. But in this one, it's a bit more intense because she hits her head and it's bleeding, which doesn't happen in the book.
It might happen in the book. It doesn't make sense to me that she has like a head injury from crashing on stone and there's no sign of trauma anywhere. So like
That's true.
at least this adaptation made like a showing that like she's injured in some way. She looks like she's taking a nap in 95.
Yeah.
And like here she looks like, oh, I buy that like there's something going on. There's blood coming out. Like
Maybe Jane Austen was a bit like me and she's like, oh, hands over my like this is a bit intense. I'll just skip over this bit slightly.
Yeah.
well, what she describes is everybody else fainting and the sailors coming by and being like, holy shit, someone got really hurt. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And then but it does remind me a very graphic scene, but Joan and the lawnmower in Mad Men. I've said that 1,000 times, but it is precisely the vibe of this moment for Anne.
Yeah. And Anne immediately springs into action. She comes over, she takes Louisa's hat off. She calls for Benwick to get a surgeon. Wentworth takes his neckerchief off. Neckerchief?
Oh, his cravat. Oh, cravat. Like I know what you're on about, the cravat. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
the
that.
little scarf.
Cravat.
Cravat,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm always saying
Yeah.
cravat. That's so funny.
And Anne tells him to keep it firmly pressed on the wound. And so he presses it and he looks at her and he's just in awe.
This moment is fantastic for like unhinged reasons though, because they have like a real energy in this moment. over a girl who's bleeding out in front of them. And I was like, guys, this is not Grey's Anatomy. Don't sexual tension over the patient. Like,
It's so true. In the camera, like, it's like a panoramic view, like, we're getting, like, this bird's eye, like, we're in a helicopter. It's like, do, do, do. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
fun.
actually the same zoom out in episode 2 of The Last of Us. Sorry to all our listeners who watched The Last of Us. I didn't mean to bring it up again.
yeah, Molly is processing.
I'm doing a bad job of processing, to be honest. So on Louise's sickbed, Wentworth is talking to Harville or Charles. I don't remember.
I think it's Charles.
It's Charles. And he says that Anne will stay. None is so capable as Anne. And of course, Mary immediately is like, well, what about me?
It's like, girl, no.
Like, you have been gagging in the corner, trying not to look at the blood.
Also, can we talk about how awkward Louisa looks? So there's like, I know she's like hit her head, but on the bed, she looks really odd. Like she looks kind of like her legs in one direction, her arms, and like she just looks really uncomfortable. And I'm like, I feel like the bigger problem is that they've put you on the bed in such a weird way.
And she's unconscious, so she can't adjust herself.
Yeah, she's gonna wake up stiff.
So Anne agrees to go home with Henrietta, and Wentworth helps her into the carriage. There's a hand touch, and they get in the carriage, and Anne is just staring into the camera the whole ride, and they don't exchange any words in the carriage. But after they arrive, Wentworth turns to Anne and says, I've been thinking, and I think you should stay outside with Henrietta while I break the news to the Musgroves alone. Do you think this is a good plan? And it's really cute, actually.
Yeah, I love this vulnerability from him where he's like, I feel like we see like snippets of like how he probably was in the past where he actually did rely on Anne for like guidance and advice.
Yeah, the swagger and the like sternness stripped away for a second, where he's like, "What do I do?" And he's like the 20-year-old guy she fell in love with back then.
Yeah. She says that she thinks it's a good plan, so he goes in and he tells the Musgroves, and we hear the crying and the panic, and he comes back out, and Anne tells him that she's quite anxious about the whole thing, and can he please have word sent to her in Bath how Louisa's doing? And he says, "You dislike Bath most heartily, as I recall." Ah, he remembers. And she says she does, but she has a school friend there and Lady Russell, which of course puts a damper on their mood.
And it was such a good vibe. Why would you bring up Lady Russell?
Dumb.
I love these moments where he has like these things where he's like, oh, I remember like in the past, like you didn't like this. And I just, oh, I'm like, oh, it honestly warms my heart.
Acknowledging the shared past.
Yeah.
It's the same thing from the 95 where he says, you were never a card player. But I like it coming in here in his moment of vulnerability.
Agreed. I think it shows a shift in this moment for him.
Yeah. And then he says goodbye, Miss Elliot. He rides away. And as he's riding away, she goes, goodbye, Captain Wentworth.
There's some like weird ads of her like whispering that. I'm like, I don't know if that was necessary. Like,
No, it was
we could
not.
have had another smile to the camera. Like, you could have just looked at us and just smiled. Like, we would have seen that. We would have acknowledged. We would know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we come to Camden Place at Bath, and the Elliots are telling Anne that Mr. Elliot has been calling on them and that they are quite reconciled. And I wanted to note in this moment, Sir Walter like sniffs something off his hand. Is he doing drugs?
It's tobacco, isn't it?
Oh.
Do people snort tobacco?
Yeah, I'm
in this
pretty
time
sure.
period?
I'm pretty sure. I
Okay.
might have to like double check, but I'm pretty sure you would like snort tobacco back then.
Because there's certainly Jane Austen characters who are heavy on the drugs in a lot of adaptations, at least.
Yeah, there was like all sorts. Like people were like experimenting with all kinds of different things back then, but I'm pretty sure you would snort tobacco in like the Regency era.
Yeah, it was called snuff. So snuff is a smokeless tobacco product, typically finely ground tobacco that's inhaled through the
snuff
nostrils or
powder.
placed in the mouth.
I knew that. Yeah, snuff powder.
I love how it's so dramatic. But like you would snort tobacco, like we made like this massive thing.
I mean, quite frankly, to a modern audience, it does look like a bump of coke.
It does.
It's
Like,
because he does it dead discreetly as well. Like he's a little bit like
Yeah.
finished now.
And then we get one of my favorite line reads of the whole movie where Anne asks, "What about Mr. Elliot's wife?" And she says, "And Mrs. Elliot?" And Elizabeth goes, "Dead, quite dead." I don't know why it cracked me up so much. It was just the quite dead.
quite dead. this Elizabeth is not given much to work with, but every moment she's there, she's serving.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she actually is, but I also just, like, kind of love how hot she is, so she kinda gets away with, like, a lot of these comments where it's just like, what a moment, like, I love it. Like, I could really see her as, like, a Mary Crawford type.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I could see Mary Crawford just, like, dead, quite dead.
Quite dead.
Yeah.
But she's also like the thing about this actress that's so good is that they've done the type of quote hot in Regency era for her because she's a very beautiful woman, but they like have styled her in a way that's like very unappealing to a modern eye.
Yeah, like the over the top curls and like
We'll get to it, but her concert look is
I loved it.
it is so over the top. Like I think I've seen a girl wear it on Drag Race and I can't be happier about it. Like
She actually gives a lot of, like, drag queen energy just in general. She's
she
she's
does.
really she's here. She's like, "This is okay, I'm back now." Like, I feel like you kinda forget about, like, the rest of the people who are in Persuasion at this point in the film, and then, like,
Yeah.
she comes back in and she's like, "It's my moment again."
Yes,
Yeah, she's
exactly.
I'm fabulous.
Yeah,
So out of my way.
and everything she wears is, like, too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. And compared to Anne, who's in these little dresses with her little, like, tendrils and her bangs, her, like, 2007 era bangs,
I
like
I must admit, yeah, it doesn't do it for me, Anne's look in this one.
oh, see, I think she, like for me, like, I think it's works because it's how I pictured Anne when I was reading the books. Like, actually, Sally Hawkins is almost precisely how I pictured Anne in the book
Same.
because she's got, like she has a pretty face and everything else about her is toned down. Like, she's clearly a pretty woman and like Anne is not focused on wearing fancy things and Anne is just pulling her hair out of her face and she is like engaging to look at just because of who she is and what she looks like, but like everything else is blah. But I can understand like she is not styled in a way to like enhance anything.
I think that was more my thing, like, I was just like, "Oh, like, Sally's really pretty," like, I don't really kind of done, like, a little bit of a disservice, like, with how, like, slicked back I mean, it is kind of in now, like, she looks like she's got one of those, like, sticks, and she's just, like, slicked back her hair,
Mhm.
so I kind of love that for her, but, it's her outfits as well for me, they're like, a lot of it looks like curtains, I think.
Yeah. They're
Yes.
not very memorable. Like I don't remember anything that she wore.
Yeah, and I think, like, Sally Hawkins is appealing solely through what she's doing with her eyes at every moment, not at all through the way she's dressed, and her sister is clearly in decadence, as much decadence as BBC will allow for in this adaptation.
Yes. So then Elliot knocks, and Elizabeth says she knows it's him from his knock. And Penelope, Mrs. Clay, says, well, he can hardly keep away from you. And so that implies that he's been flirting with her. And then we get this awkward, quiet moment while they wait for him to enter. And Sir Walter's like, oh, how's Mary doing? As he forgot about her, as he tends to. And then Mr. Elliot enters, and he is, as we've already said, very smarmy. And he's like, "Oh," like, when he notices that Anne's there, he's like, "It's so funny that we were staying at the same inn. One might even say providential." And it's just, like, so over the top flirty.
I would actually live for that, like, if someone said that to me. I think I'd live for that more than them lifting me up and putting me in a carriage. I'd be
That
like,
it's
"Wow, what a moment."
providential.
That is providential, yeah, exactly.
I mean, Mr. Elliot is supposed to be, like, appealing to everyone, and I will forever blow up Molly's spot for, like, really falling for Mr. Elliot when we were halfway through Persuasion.
He's hot, and he does know his way around the English language, I will give him that.
I love this.
Izzy's face is, like, sheer
I'm
horror.
just, like, shocked. Yeah, I'm so shocked. I love this though because, like, I can't remember, like, what it was like for me to read a lot of them for the first time. So it's it's so good to hear.
Yeah, and he turned out to be, like, the worst of the villains, actually, but, like, up until it was revealed to us, I didn't see anything wrong with him, and I was like, I feel like that would be a perfectly fine match for Anne to go for.
I screenshotted her, "Why am I standing Mr. Elliot so hard?" And I posted it when we finished the chapter where, Mrs. Smith, reveals everything.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay.
So, we jump back to Lyme for a moment, and we get this added scene, which I really loved, which is Wentworth and Harville talking, and they're behind, I think, Louisa and everybody at this point, and Harville congratulates Wentworth on the match, and Wentworth is like, "What match?" And Harville's like, "Are you being coy?" But when he realizes that Wentworth actually doesn't have any feelings for Louisa, he's like, "You really messed this one up." everyone thinks that you're gonna go for her. Like, her family, her you're gonna really let them all down if you don't go for her.
I love
Me
this.
too, because it's something that, like, I don't think translates super well to a modern audience. The, like, "Oh, I'm attached now because I've been flirting too hard and I owe it to her and her family." Like, that's something that's very outdated.
Trying to make Ed and Elliot jealous, you Icarus and, like, flew too close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that his friend calls it out though, because I love this accountability that he's like, hang on a second, you've messed up.
Harville in this is excellent, like, as a sounding board for everything Wentworth's going through and as just a really good bro.
Absolutely. And Wentworth is like, So what do I do?" And Harville's like, "You should probably get out of here. Like, leave Lyme, and maybe that'll weaken everybody's opinions about, like, the bonds between you 2." So Wentworth is like, "Okay, I guess I could go visit my brother." Like, he's really, like, saving this whole situation. I mean, Harville is saving the whole situation because Wentworth is like, "I have to consider myself attached to her, don't I?" And Harville's like, "Yeah, but maybe if you get out of here, it'll be okay."
I also love this like bromance element where he's like, okay, but alternatively, like I want you to be happy, so like game plan, you need to leave. And then
Yeah.
we can figure this out.
Yeah. And then later they hug, which is on the cob, which we'll come back to, but that was in the storm. So we jump to Anne and Lady Russell in a carriage on the way to the pump rooms, and Anne reveals that Wentworth and Louisa are going to be engaged any day now. And Lady Russell goes, "And you, child, are you reconciled to it?" And Anne says she wishes them every happiness, but Lady Russell can tell that she doesn't actually.
The energy of, "Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
fine.
I'm fine." Ross from
Yeah.
Friends, "I'm fine."
Fine. And they get to the pump rooms and they're walking around, and Anne says she thinks there's more to Mr. Elliot's sudden reconciliation with the family, implying that he's going for Elizabeth. And Lady Russell says he has nothing to gain from this reconciliation. Nothing can prevent him from inheriting. And Anne says nothing except her father having a male heir. And they note that perhaps Elliot is after Mrs. Clay, trying to get Mrs. Clay away from her father so that her father won't have a male heir. This is something that in the book is really left, it's like implied at various points, but was hard for me personally to grasp. So I do think that it's important that it's here.
I think so as well for the film. Yeah. But can I just see how wild this scene is? I feel like this is what I think me and my friends look like when we're having like deep conversation about something like this, where it keeps switching from like their face to her face, and it's
Oh, yeah.
it's so close. The camera's so close to
And
them.
like underneath their noses too. It's like looking up.
I do think it's interesting though, because they don't hate him at this point, but she guesses the entire game. Because then, like, we'll get into it, they cut a lot of what makes Elliot such a villain,
Mhm.
and instead, like, you just get Mrs. Smith being like, "By the way, he only wants you for the title and to prevent Mrs. Clay from getting your dad." And then here, Anne is just like, "He only wants to prevent Mrs. Clay from getting my dad." But then later she's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "But you figured that out.
I
You knew
know.
that."
It's like it's as if it's like we're in like Scooby Doo. It's like take the mask off. And
Yeah.
it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's a very convoluted storyline. I've always thought it's a convoluted storyline. And I think that calling this out here and now, like the only thing that she's off about is that he's going for Mrs. Clay to get her to marry him instead because he never really wanted her to marry him, as our listeners have pointed out to us. He just wanted to keep a close eye on her so that they don't have a baby and then he would have her as his own mistress at the same time. So like his master plan was to get as many women as possible, and Anne doesn't see that yet, but it is quite a confusing storyline.
Again, I'm so interested to how you take on the new one as well, because I thought it was even more confusing. So that's so interesting.
Okay, I can't wait.
Yeah, I do agree though that it is helpful to have like and spell it out here.
Yes. So then Lady Russell leaves Anne with Mr. Elliot and they have a little conversation flirting about how he had just called at Camden Place an hour ago and he was very distressed to find she wasn't there. They talk about how excited her family is for the Dowager Viscountess Lady Dalrymple and baby Dalrymple to arrive today and kind of bond over how her family is like what's the word for when they like are looking up to this person so much. They're like simpering. They're
Simpering.
yeah.
I will say as well, like location, this is more in the book than in here, but like location's really important in Persuasion, like the locations within Bath that they mention because they all signify different wealth statuses and
Mhm.
like what's going on. Like there's some things like it looked good at the front. Like Camden Place is like one of those ones that like looked really good on the front, but the back was like falling apart because they didn't have money to
Oh.
actually renovate. So it was all like a bit of a facade.
Mm.
Oh.
I love that.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, you should really look into, like, all the different, like, locations. Langsdown Crescent's another one that was, like, really wealthy people, and that's, like, Mr. Elliot makes a note that he was, like, visiting somebody there, and that's how people know that he's, like, socializing with, like, wealthy people, and then, like, Miss Smith, she's, like, in the lower parts of town by the river, which was obviously the poorer parts of town, so there's that she leaves in different locations because obviously she lived in Bath, so she knows what areas mean different things.
Right.
I mean, I'm a big Sex and the City fan, and, like, the 5th girl being the city, like, Bath is a character in Persuasion very palpably.
Yes. So then Mr. Elliot and Anne talk about good company versus the best company. And he says good company only needs status and manners and some education. And Anne is not satisfied with this answer. And he says, okay, well, one thing we can agree on is that it would be best to keep your father away from some people who might be beneath him. And she goes, are you talking of Mrs. Clay? And he's like, I might be. It's all very out in the open. I'm not super mad about it. And she says, well, she only worries that the match will make him unhappy, but maybe she is being fastidious. And he says that she has more right than anyone to be fastidious. And then he kisses her hand, and Elizabeth sees, and now she is angry at Anne. Now they're in a fight. Back home, Elizabeth is being snarky about Mr. Elliot, and she tells Anne, "Oh, and by the way, you have a letter from Uppercross. Maybe you'll have time to read it before Mr. Elliot comes back." The letter says that Louisa is doing well and there will soon be wedding bells at Uppercross, and Anne bursts into tears.
It's very Mrs. Ferrers, the new Mrs. Ferrers.
Oh, yeah.
Letters with no footnotes. Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, they're trying to mislead us, which I liked. I thought it was a good addition. I don't know. Then Sir Walter is calling her, so she has to, like, put herself together, and they're supposed to go see the Dalrymples, but Anne has plans to see Mrs. Smith, and, of course, we get the iconic line, "Perhaps she is not the only poor widow in Bath with little to live on and no surname of dignity."
Iconic. I just love this
Mhm.
so much.
I love sassy Anne.
Me too.
She deserves to clap back.
At this point, she's like, "I've lost everything now." Like, I actually give no flying figs at this point, so I feel that. Also, she doesn't just cry, like, the girl bawls, like, she has, like,
Yeah.
dribble coming out of her mouth, like, she is I understand, like, she is absolutely devastated, so I would also be fuming, and I'd be throwing shade as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we meet Mrs. Smith, who is one named Harriet in this adaptation. I don't know if anyone caught that.
I caught that too, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah,
I don't know if she's named Harriet explicitly in Persuasion, but
she's
that's
not.
certainly the name of another famous Jane Austen character.
That's rogue.
Yeah.
Maybe if she is in the book, how funny would that be of, like, Austen? She's just, like, creating, like, her own, like, universe where she's like, these
Yeah.
characters go across books.
Yeah. No, I don't think she's given a first name in the book, but here it's like she just of course she calls her by her first name because they're old friends, but I thought that was really funny, and she is doing much better. So that like she asks her how she's doing. She says, "Oh, much better." So that explains why she's able to run across town later. But we'll come to it.
Yeah.
Just on the name Smith as well, I do know, like, a lot of people were given the name Smith, and it was basically meant that, like, they didn't really know what people's names were, so they were just like, "Smith.
Mm.
It'll have to be Smith." Like, in Britain, like, that happened a lot, like, people would just be like, "Oh, we have to give you a name.
Well, that's Harriet Smith, in Emma,
Oh, because she
but
doesn't know her parentage.
yeah, here Mrs. Smith is a taken name from, her husband, Mr. Smith, who
Oh,
was
right.
some, like, attorney or something.
Yeah, equally though, he could have like rose through the ranks. I think that's why he ended up in this like
Mm.
whole difficulty with like his money and everything. So equally he could have like had not like a strong lineage as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, not something we explore in this, the way in which Mr. Smith was bad with money.
Right, they never bring him up in this adaptation.
I'm still waiting for anybody to connect Mrs. Smith and Mr. Elliot in an adaptation. We'll see if 2022 does it, but I know it's a controversial piece of the story because it kind of is character assassination of Mrs. Smith, but I really liked that as really villainous behavior that was creative that no other Jane Austen villain had really done.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're still waiting. HBO, get on it.
BBC,
BBC.
please
Yeah, actually, sorry.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
bring back Sarah Snook.
So it's like a off branch of like a BBC studio that's actually part of the creation of the upcoming Netflix Pride and Prejudice as well. So
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I feel like that's like hopeful. So
Yeah, maybe they'll do all of them.
if they can bury the Persuasion.
So, Mrs. Smith said something funny, which I love, where she was like, "But we are honored to have a cousin of Lady Dalrymple come to visit us instead of calling on her own relations." And then Anna's like, "How the fuck did you know that? I literally just said that to my family." And she goes, "Oh, there's nothing that happens in Bath that my nurse doesn't know. Nurse Rook, a queen." And Anna's like, "Oh, teehee." That's like basically all we get from their conversation, because then we see Frederick Wentworth go to see Harville at the Cobb, and we are in a full storm.
In the rain, yes.
This must have been so funny to film. Like the water coming off the side.
They're just dumping buckets on them.
I'm also like so confused. I'm like, how is that much water coming out? Why would you? They'd be like warning signs. Like this is like on the news. They'd be like red alert. Like you can't leave. You can't go on to
Yeah,
these sites.
exactly.
Although to be fair, with the BBC, they often do send reporters to these conditions just to like emphasize. So like we'll see them like with the mic and it's like water coming in.
Totally. I have so many questions about this. Was it supposed to be raining that day? Like, is this just a set design choice where they were able to make it look like it's raining a lot and the guys are just soaking wet? This looks like real rain. And if so, like, that's pretty bad conditions to have filming.
It can't possibly be real rain. But yeah, the camera.
It's clearly filmed outside. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, that's the
Oh, it's
Cobb.
definitely filmed outside. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely yeah.
And it's such intense rain. And it's like, if this was scripted, how did you get the rainstorm going? And if it wasn't scripted, why would you just not wait until a day where it's like safer to be out on the
Listen, they
Cobb?
had a schedule they had to stick to.
I was like, maybe they're just trying to like emphasize like these men have been out on boats in the sea. They are tough. They are resilient. Let's just show. Let's just throw some buckets of water on them.
That's
Or
true.
maybe they were trying to like buy on the whole like 1995 Pride and Prejudice, like where Colin Firth obviously is like with the wet shirt situation. Maybe they're just like a few buckets, like it adds something.
Certainly a tack taken by multiple other Jane Austen adaptations and related non-Jane Austen adaptations. I'm looking at Bridgerton. They all like to put the man in water and a white shirt because they know it worked with Colin Firth, and I am not opposed. But I have so many questions about how intensely it's raining in this scene.
Yes. So, in the intensity of the rain, Wentworth admits that he still loves Anne and essentially recites his future letter. He's like, "I've never loved anyone but her. I thought I was over it. I wasn't." And I was just like, well, why is he telling him that? Why isn't he telling Anne that? But I also didn't hate this bro moment because he says all of that, and Harville says, "Well, you've heard that Louisa and Bennet are engaged." And Wentworth is like, "What?" And he goes, "Then I'm free." And then they hug.
Oh my god, so dramatic. So
I
dramatic
know.
from Wentworth. But I also love this as well. I love that Harville's just like so happy for him. He's like, friend, we all knew. We all knew that you still loved her. Like bring it in. It's all good.
Yeah.
Harville as matchmaker in this one is truly amazing, and I love a good bro moment in a Jane Austen adaptation. This is really excellent.
Yeah, we get a lot of girlhood. We don't get a lot of boyhood, so it did make me happy.
I did a whole thing about like Bingley and Darcy's bromance with some of your listeners might know Ben Mercer because he's quite big on book talk, but it was such a good episode. Like it was really like interesting, and also to just get like his perspective on it. It was really fun. So yeah, I love a bromance in Austen as well. I think she does them well. I think she does them really well. Or she does them like I don't know, like, I don't wanna even say that they're false because, like, I know a lot of people who have this kind of bromances with each other, so I think it's accurate.
My fiance is Bingley. His best friend is grumpy, but so soft on the inside. And they literally have had conversations about how they're Bingley and Darcy. And like they are grumpy and sunshine, but in bromance form. So I can confirm that the Darcy Bingley bromance is very real. And I think in Persuasion, honestly, like vets, like they have real bonds with each other that like
Totally.
are not really understandable to other people. So it makes sense that Harville's got these intensely close relationships to these other naval officers. I think Austen knew what she was doing with the male
She
friendships.
did.
As Jane Austen the cure to the male loneliness epidemic?
Honestly, that's something that we literally discussed in this whole thing. Like, we were like, in like the decline of like sports, like in a lot of communities and things, and how that was often
Mm.
a way for like men to bond and things. So like, yeah, honestly, like I think so. Like we think men need to read more Austen. Like I do think it cures the male loneliness epidemic for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a mandate to all of the male listeners we have.
Which is a good we have a couple, like, really good ones.
That's true, that's true. Make sure that you have wonderful, loving, friendships. We're happy to provide them through this podcast if we can. Well, we'll start a service.
Yeah, and everybody else, get your male friends to listen and read Jane Austen because we think it's important.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we jump to Lady Russell and Anne walking, and Lady Russell is saying that she was talking to Mr. Elliot, and he thinks Anne is the model of female excellence, and she says, "I am no matchmaker, as you well know," which I think is a hilarious line from Lady Russell, but it gives her great joy to think of Anne as the future mistress of Kellynch, which also gives Anne a little bit of joy. Like, she's like, "Huh, maybe that would be nice," because she does love that house. Anne goes downstairs later to find the Crofts at her house in Camden Place, and she's really happy to see them, and they have a letter for her from Mary, and they tell her that Louisa is married, and the ensuing scene of just misunderstanding and not knowing who they're talking about is great, because Anne is like, "Oh, yeah, I wish them very happy," and they're like, "Yeah, Frederick was really surprised, blah, 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 blah," and she's like, "Oh, he really? He didn't tell you of his intentions?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "What are you talking about?"
Which I feel like is fair because, like,
Yeah.
they had a conversation with her about how it was likely Frederick was gonna propose to her. So why be confused?
I think they just assume she's, like, still in the know, like, that Mary might have written to her already, but obviously Mary doesn't do that.
No, no.
So, finally, it's cleared up when Admiral says Frederick isn't one to pine or complain, and he hopes Louisa will be very happy with Benwick. And Anne absolutely loses it.
She's like, back up, back up. Hang on.
Yeah,
Can
she's
we
she literally says, "Can you just to confirm, you're saying that Louisa is marrying Benwick and not Captain Wentworth?" And the Admiral goes, "Yes."
Why is this like when you're doing like work emails and like someone sends you like something really vague and you're just like, hang on a second, I need this in writing. So like, can we confirm we mean X, Y, and Z?
Oh my god. I've been plowing research questions into, like, more junior attorneys on my team, and they always come back with, "Thank you so much, Becca. Just to clarify what you're asking for, is it XYZ?" And sometimes I have to be like, "No, no, it's ABC. Sorry, I should have been
Yeah.
clearer." That's what's happening here. Just to confirm, you're saying that Captain Benwick's marrying Louisa Musgrove, and they're like, "Yeah."
But the way that he says yes is so he's like, "That's it exactly." And he looks so mischievous that I'm like, "Oh, he can tell." He's like, "Oh, poor Wentworth's gonna have to start all over with somebody else. I wonder who that will be."
That's so funny.
And Wentworth is in Bath, and it's raining, and he ducks into a store out of the rain and bumps straight into Anne.
I love this scene. Their chemistry in the scene is excellent. It's almost word for word of the book. It's really intense. It feels like a vibe has shifted between the two of
Yes.
them. However, what is the store?
Well, we don't know what the store is. We don't know.
He comes in and he looks around and she's there and she's just standing in front of a doorway
Yes.
in the rain with nobody else there. And there's no indication of what else is happening around them in the
No.
store. And it's just them in the doorway. Perfect scene, except I have so many questions about how they filmed this and what they were like, oh, we just need a door.
I imagine that it was probably a budgetary constraint.
They had enough money to have a scene where Wentworth and Harville are together on the cob in the
But
rain,
it's
and they just go
possible
to
that the rain was not a paid actor, as we've already discussed.
That used all the budget, okay? All of the
Yeah.
buckets of water used all the budget. I've literally just skipped to the scene though. There's like these like I don't know like I don't know what they are, but there's like taps in these like giant like tubs. So I'm like, maybe it's meant to be like a cafe or something where you get your own
In
drinks.
this scene?
Yeah. Because I'm like, yeah, there's like these I don't even know what they're called, but you know when you're like when you're in like a place where there's like it's catering for a lot of people, so they have these like giant like tin things, and then you've got a tap, and you just like fill up your own like drinks.
Yes,
Like a
yes.
bakery that has, like, a place for you to fill up your own cup of coffee or
Exactly, or
something.
like or get your glass of water. So there's like two of them by the door, like guarding the door, which makes no sense because like what a place to go and fill up your water. So it's definitely a budget thing. They must have just been like, I don't know what works, what's mirrored, and let's get
Yeah,
that in.
Yeah.
yeah. Such a good point because it's been a couple of different places. I think it was marzipan in the last one, but yeah, I didn't mind. I liked the close proximity of being in the doorway, and he asks her if he's heard about Bennick and Louisa with so much hope in his eyes. Like, guess what? I'm free. I'm free now.
I said it out loud to Harville, and now I'm saying to you, I'm
Yeah.
free.
And they laugh about how different Louisa and Bennick are, about how he loves poetry and she loves to like prance around.
I know I criticized this performance before, but this scene is what I wanted from him the whole time. Like, it's a wonderful scene.
That's what I'm saying. And I think this is the first time she sees this come out of him in the story. So yeah, it's really beautiful. He says that still, Bennick's attachment to Fanny Harville was so profound, and a man cannot recover from such a passion, from such a he ought not, he does not. Literally bearing his soul to her in this doorway right now.
Enter through said doorway, Edmure Tully.
Mr.
He looks
Elliot.
so happy and just like animated when he comes through as well.
Yeah, he's like, guess what? The train, the train. Guess what? The carriage is here.
Guess what? We now have trains.
Yeah. Engineering has really taken a leap. Oh man, but such a buzzkill for him to come in at this exact moment when Wentworth has just essentially said, "I still love you." To have another man come in and he like realizes, "Oh my god, she was waiting for him here." Like it's just so embarrassing and heartbreaking and terrible. And Anne introduces them and they kind of size each other up. And then Elliot's like, okay, well, should we go? And Anna's like, Captain Wentworth, there's a concert tonight. I remember how fond you are of music. And so she's trying to imply, I remember too. And then he just watches them walk away.
That's basically her asking him out.
Yeah. She's like, please come. I want to see you again.
And also, like, please ignore this guy who's just come through the door and is like talking to me. Like, there's nothing going on.
I don't want him. I don't want him.
Yeah.
He's nothing. He's nothing. So time for the concert. We can discuss Elizabeth's hair now, if you would like, Becca.
So I think someone in our Discord said this is like a few decades later in actual like 1800 style, but it is like a shape. I believe it's a cross in the hair built from hair. And it was pure camp. And what I love about it is that like Anne is so plain comparatively, and all of the other women who are there, except Elizabeth and Lady Dalrymple, not even Baby Dalrymple, have this like little like geometry situation in their hair. I don't know how one accomplishes that. I don't know why one accomplishes that. I'm not mad about it. I am going to think about it for the rest of my life, honestly.
For me, it's giving Cindy Lou Who. Like, that's all I can
That's exactly what it is.
100%.
And I love that she woke up and chose violence. Like, it is so insane a hairstyle to have. Like, it makes Dolly Parton look demure. So, like, honestly, over the top, the center of attention. A lot happens at this concert, but nothing is as of much consequence as Elizabeth's hairstyle.
So true. So as they're walking in, Sir Walter is complaining about how plain everyone in Bath is while checking himself out in a tiny mirror, which I thought was incredible that he just like carries one with him.
Which, like, yeah, he's hot.
He is hot.
It's like Beauty and the Beast. He's just like,
And they invite Lady Russell to their party of the next night. And then she sees Wentworth entering and she goes, "Oh my God, is that Captain Wentworth?" And everyone turns in shock. And Anne runs over to him in front of everybody, and his manner is cold and distant, probably because Elliot just walked in while they were in the middle of a moment, and so now he's mad about it.
But also, like, dramatic.
It is.
I couldn't be dealing with the hot and cold. I'd just be like, friend,
Yeah.
one thing and you've spiraled.
It's like at this point I like straight up have like told you, you know, I haven't married anybody else since you proposed to me. You know that I am trying my best to get you to this concert. Read the room, read my
I just
signals.
ran over to you in front of my family.
Like, who hates you? Also, this is another note. In most renditions of Persuasion, Sir Walter has moved on from hating Wentworth because he's now like impressive. Here, he still hates him. Here, he's still like beneath him,
Yeah,
which was interesting.
he's a social climber.
Yeah, exactly. But in most adaptations, like he'll like brag to Lady Dalrymple that he knows him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wentworth here, it's like, Captain, if she's coming over to talk to you, she wants to talk to you. Read the signals. She's trying to ignore the other guy. Come on now.
I know. His face. He's being such a grump.
He is being a grump, but he says she asks if he's gonna stay long. Like, does he know how long he's staying? And he says, "I don't know. It all depends." And it's like, okay, well, tell me what it depends on then.
And I'll make it happen.
Yeah. Then he says, "Miss Elliot," and she says, "Captain." And then they're interrupted by the arrival of the Dalrymples, and the Elliots run down the hall to go greet her, and the shaky cam is back, like following them, like, "Oh my god, we have to run down the hall."
Following Elizabeth and her little like
Her little
Cindy Lou
bobbing.
Who, yeah.
Yeah. And they greet Lady Dalrymple, who's like not a huge deal in this, but like I feel like that there are two things that they removed from this book, like the importance of Lady Dalrymple. She's not that exciting, and we don't ever meet Charles Hayter, which I'm salty about.
I don't think there's the only two things that were removed, but those are very
Okay,
notable
yeah.
exemptions.
Two things that I recalled in
Yeah.
this moment. At the concert, Anne sits down next to Elliot, and Elizabeth is like making eyes at him during this. And Wentworth is sitting next to the Crofts, who are muttering about the Elliots that there may be another marriage in that family soon. So everyone's kind of suspecting Anne and Elliot. And this is implied to Wentworth by that comment, as evidenced by the fact that as soon as the music starts, Wentworth leaves the concert.
Embarrassing.
Rude.
It's such a small assembly. You can't just get up.
It's not like you're in a giant concert hall or something.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But also, he's so dramatic as well. Like, you don't. Oh, think of all the things that Anna's been through so far. Like with him flirting with someone else, like actively flirting, all of this. And then he just overhears a conversation where she may be getting married. And he's like, got to leave. Like, it's too much for me.
That's how you know Anne Elliot is made of such stern character that this man has been to literal war and he can handle his shit way less than she can.
So true.
Literally.
And then Anne, who's sitting in the front row, also gets up and runs out of the concert to follow him, and he still doesn't get it.
Ugh.
I kind of don't like that. I don't like that she runs after him because I'm like,
Me
she looks
either.
like he's being dramatic. Like, he needs time to process.
Give him a cool off.
Yeah. However, if she hadn't followed him out, we wouldn't get him saying there's nothing worth him staying for. Well, Elliot has followed Anne out and is standing behind her, and he's like kind of in the shadows, and it's very much like here's the love triangle. And we also wouldn't get Elliot proposing to Anne.
Much more explicitly here than usual.
Yes.
And Sally Hawkins has this moment where like she just goes, oh, and her eyebrows go up and she kind of is like, uh-huh. It's kind of like, it's the face you'd make if your friend got back together with their crappy ex. Like, that's the face she makes in the moment. And she's like, oh God, okay, I'm dealing with this now.
It's like Tuesday we were like talking like crap about that guy, and it's like Wednesday. It's like we're back together. It's just like let me just adjust my whole facial structure then.
Exactly. Oh, I have to readjust everything for what just happened to me. I'm gonna get back to you on that with like a cohesive answer on what just happened.
Yeah. What I don't like about it is that something that we lose because of the way this proposal is how hilarious it is that Anne doesn't know he proposed to her because she was distracted by Wentworth in the book. So when everyone's talking about how Anne and Elliot are getting together, she's like, why do they think that? But there's no way she can ignore this one. So I regret that a little bit, but we do get a lovely, smarmy proposal with dear cousin and his
Ugh.
sincerest wishes that her last name will never change.
Ugh.
And he does give her 24 hours to think about it, which is nice.
Here's 24 hours, get back to me at your convenience.
Yeah, he says, "At your earliest convenience."
3 to 4 business days would be sufficient.
Yeah. And he kisses her hand again, and it's gross, and he goes back to the concert, and she's just standing there like, "What just happened?" The next morning, this is where it really starts to tumble out of control. The next morning, Anne comes downstairs to a letter from Wentworth saying that he is leaving immediately and he needs to see her at 11 a.m. because the Admiral has asked him to talk to her about something. Which, as one who, as I think we all have read the alternate ending of Persuasion, this is that, which the other adaptation we watched also did that. And I don't know why they keep I mean, listen, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I famously don't hate it. We'll get to it. Let's just say we'll get to it. This is the first hint that that's going to happen. We get horror movie music and tinkly bells, and Anne is like her heart is pounding, and the door opens, and she turns around, and it's Charles and Mary. And we get this lovely line from Mary: "I am here to take the waters. It is my last hope. Father, Elizabeth, I'm dying." A queen.
I love that, she just comes back though, because I'm like, we've just not had enough of her. Like, she needs to come back. I love when all the characters have to come together. It's like Endgame.
Absolutely. This is Avengers Endgame, but Jane Austen.
Yeah.
Also, something that's different here from the book is that their suitcases are being brought in. So it's actually what, in the book, Elizabeth and Sir Walter's worst fear was, which is when Mary arrived, they were like, "Where are you staying? You're not staying with us, are you?" And they're not in the book, but here they are, which I think is hilarious. So the family's all gathered, and Wentworth comes in. And Anne is like, "Ah." And Mary starts to introduce Wentworth to the family as if she's the one who's closest to him. And Anne panics and she goes, "Captain, please," in the middle, literally crowded room. And she pulls him away to a private room by himself, which I feel like is everyone's going to know something's going on here.
Yeah, you have to kind of suspend your disbelief for this moment.
Yeah. He says that the Admiral understands that Anne and Elliot are to be married and he wants to know if he should give up their lease. And Anne says, "Sir, if you will please thank the Admiral on my behalf and tell him that he is misinformed." Misinformed. And he goes, "Misinformed? Utterly?" And she says, "Yes, Captain, quite mistaken." And he says, "No truth in any part of it?" And she says, "None."
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit?
Not even
He's not even a little bit correct? So, yes, we've talked about this at length, but Izzy, I'm curious about your thoughts about this scene.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I quite like that this is in this version because I feel like we still need a bit of more airtime with Anne and just showing her confidence where she's just like, "Won't come with me. Everyone else stay put, please." Where he's like, "I need to sort something out." So I kind of love this. And also I kind of love that Wentworth kind of goes off the rails slightly
Mhm.
as we get further in and he's just he's kind of losing it a bit because really he's planned through so much. So I kind of love that we see him a little bit disheveled by this point in the storyline.
I agree. And I dislike this a lot. I hated this in the 1995 Persuasion. I don't hate this in the same way here
Yeah.
because it doesn't impede the action where we are in the story. It makes sense that he needs that reassurance rather than, and the other one, she reassures him and then he asks, and I'm like, no, that doesn't track. Whereas here, I think it becomes the inciting incident for the letter in some
Yes,
ways.
which we lost because the conversation that usually incites the letter already happened.
Yeah.
So I understand why they brought this in as an instigator for the letter.
But in my brain, again, it's but why doesn't he just say it here?
Well, because Lady Russell enters
That's such a good
at this
point.
point.
Also, yeah, but I kind of get what you're saying there actually, because there's an urgency to the letter because she has that conversation. He is
Mhm.
like, "I don't have time. I need to say this right now." Whereas, why is there so much urgency now? When he's literally just leaving, there isn't the same,
Yeah.
there's not the same urgency, which I think is critical to Wentworth's character because I think he acts on impulse sometimes.
And there's so much pent up emotion and they're in front of everybody else. So he has to write it down instead of confronting her vocally in that moment.
Yeah.
So he has to write it down and thrust it into her hands because he needs her to know how he feels, but he can't do anything more than write it down for her in that moment. So, like,
Right.
for the end of this movie, there's a lot of things that go a little haywire. This scene did not bother me.
This scene didn't bother me. What bothered me is so Lady Russell comes in and she's like, "Oh, you remember Lady Russell?" And he goes, "How could I forget?" Which I thought was great.
Classic.
Yeah, but then he leaves to go write the letter, and somehow he got to the house where he was staying, wrote the letter, gave it to Harville, left again, went to the pump rooms, and then left again all before Anne was able to get there. How did he time travel?
But also, like, what is he doing? Like, chill.
Yeah,
Like,
just stay put.
She's right there. She wants to continue the conversation. Just get away from Lady Russell for a few minutes. And instead, and listeners, this is really where this adaptation loses me a little. And it is where Wentworth leaves and we get what is essentially the Great Bath Marathon from Anne, who runs what seems to be the entirety of Bath looking for Wentworth and running into several characters and getting like exposition points while she runs to Wentworth.
Who should have theoretically just been a few feet in front of her because she didn't leave that far after him.
but also, like, how rogue? Like, Bath is not a massive city, but it's still quite big. Like, what does she have him on Find Me? Like, how is she even tracking it? Like,
Right.
do you know what I mean? It's so weird.
Girl is gonna develop plantar fasciitis running in those boots. Like,
Yeah,
what is happening?
it is insane. She chases him out. We don't know where he's going. We don't know where she's going. She runs into Harriet Smith, who, first of all, shouldn't be outside because she's ill.
And also can run
She's running.
with her rheumatism.
Yeah, but she's not that. She's doing much better, as we know.
They're jogging together.
They're jogging together.
Everyone's a runner.
Everyone's a runner. And Miss Smith is like, "Is it true that Elliot proposed to you?" And Anne's like, "Yes." And she's like, "But like, have you accepted him?" She's like, "No." And she's like, "Well, I must tell you of his true character." She says, Mr. Elliot had heard rumors about Sir Walter and Mrs. Clay, and he just wanted to stop him from marrying her and taking the baronetcy away from him. His admiration from Anne is sincere, but it's also not sincere enough to stop him from courting Miss Clay at the same time. And he's already promised Mrs. Clay to be his mistress in London as soon as he marries Anne. So again, way over convoluting this story. I mean, it is what happened, but like we already knew all of that.
Yeah. It's like, it's a little bit like, is that it?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I don't, do you know what I mean? Like, when you find out, like, his true character in the book, it's like, how diabolical. Like, that in itself could be like a whole own plot.
Right.
It's like its own book.
Astonishing and like super villainous and like really callous, and like the harm that he inflicts is so intense, and it's not really present here, especially because Anne has already guessed 95% of it.
Yeah.
But hey, in her brain she's like, all right, that guy did suck as I suspected, let me keep on my little jog. And so then she runs into, I think, Harville next.
She goes to Harville's place because he was staying with Harville. So she's running, and she goes to Captain Harville, and he's like, "Oh, the Admiral and Mrs. Croft have gone to take the waters with Captain Wentworth." Which wasn't he supposed to be leaving this morning? Why is he going to take the waters now?
Yeah, literally.
So she's running to the waters, and then she gets to the water.
Hang on, she's not running to the waters yet because he says, "Since you're here, Captain Wentworth left me a letter to give to you."
And then it's the letter, but abbreviated, so it's not the whole letter.
Why is this giving sloppy theatre though? This
Yeah!
book? It really is. It's like, get another character on stage to give him the letter. Like, we need to figure something out.
When did he write the letter? Like, how did he write the letter that fast?
While she was on her little Mrs. Smith jog. Doesn't make sense.
That was about 30 seconds of our time.
I know. And then like that, this gives the energy. I think you're totally right, Izzy. It's like Anne is jogging on a stage and we're supposed to get this feeling like she's running to him, and all these characters are coming in and being like, hey, this thing, hey, that thing. And it's like, what?
So she's running and the letter is narrating, and it may be shorter, but it's still beautiful. I love it, whatever. It's overruled by the shaky cam following her, like zooming in and out of her face as she runs down the street. Like,
You pierce my soul.
yeah, we're like it's zooming out and running in at the same time, and she's like going between her innie and her outie, and like and she's on a bridge at some point, and it's just there's so much happening as the letter's happening. She finally makes it to the Crofts, And they're like, "Oh, you've just missed Frederick. He was just going to call upon you." If he was going to call upon her, why did he give the letter to Harville to give to her?
But also, is he also running? Like, how is he getting to these places so fast?
Is he on horseback?
Well, he was in a carriage, presumably to get to the waters, but there's more traffic. It's usually harder to get places in a car than it is on foot in a small city.
So don't you worry, listeners. If you worried we didn't get enough of Anne running through Bath, there is another stint of Anne running through Bath from the bathhouse back to her own place to find Wentworth.
Yes. And she runs straight into him on the street, into Frederick and Charles, and she's panting. And Charles is like, "Oh, you don't look well. We should get you home." "Oh, but I have to go to the marketplace because there's this gun." And then his voice fades out as he's talking about the gun. And Anne and Wentworth are just staring at each other, and you can't hear what Charles is saying anymore until he leaves. And then we're almost at the end. She gasps out, "Captain, I am in receipt of your proposal and am minded to accept it. Thank you."
What is the thank you for? This whole scene plays out like a video game. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like I'm like
it's a
Lara
video
Croft,
game
and I'm
cutscene.
like going up, and it's like every time I go up to someone, like this speech bubble comes up, and they're just like blah 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 blah. It's like I have to meet all the characters so that I can get to the finish line.
That's exactly it. The thank you to me reads like after Rory Gilmore gets her first kiss and she says thank you to Dean.
Yeah.
I kind of like it though because it's like thank you for not changing your mind a little bit. Like, I don't know. I can get behind it.
I just think he needs to be saying thank you to her because he put her through so much.
Right.
Like during this time period, like he needs to be like, thank you for literally like you had offers, like you could have done better. I'm really sorry that I was a douche.
He essentially takes responsibility for their time apart because he didn't propose to her years ago when he was like ashore again.
That's true.
And in the book. And so like in the book, it's like really crystal clear that he is like, "Oh, I was blinded by my own hurt and rage. You are who you have always been and are excellent. And I want you and you deserve better." Like here it's like, "Oh, thank God you still love me." But
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, thank you.
Thank
It's like,
you.
thank you for what? Like, no.
And then he says, "Are you quite certain?" And she says, "I am. I am determined. I will, and nothing you may be sure will ever persuade me otherwise."
I kind of like that.
I don't hate it. It's an echo of Louisa being like, "And I am quite determined."
yeah.
But like that kind of shows that that's what he cares the most about in life.
It shows an Anne character development when I don't think we got enough Wentworth character development in the scene, but
Fact. I don't like that she's so pandering to him in this. You know, now we've gone through this adaptation this time. I'm a little bit like, I feel like she's pandering too much to him because like Anne's like whole journey is that she realizes that she has so much to offer just for being herself. Like she's literally just like, I'm enough as I am. Like I actually don't need him to complete me. Like I've been fine all this time. I've actually been doing like all this self-development without even realizing. And now I'm in such a great place. Actually, I am so worthy. And I feel like Mr. Elliot does help with that, even though he's such a bad guy, because he kind of makes her see that she's still this attractive person that people would want to be
she's a
with.
hottie.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, Wentworth should be the one like kind of groveling. And he kind of does in the letter, but I don't like that she kind of like like she chased like I don't know, she's always chasing him. It's like, girl, stop chasing.
Yeah, I think that you're so right. And I am seeing this in a different light now, in that like, and what you both said actually is that this doesn't actually require him to do any self-reflection.
Yeah.
She's just saying, "Oh, you want someone who's determined? I'm determined." Instead of being like him being like, "Oh, sometimes being too determined isn't a good thing," which is what he gets like in the book, what he gets from Louisa's fall.
And like the development of Wentworth is I was blinded by my own rage and hurt.
Yeah.
And I thought I was over you, but I was just mad at you and I could never be over you. And that's what's the defining thing of my life is that like I will never move on from you. And I need to know in this moment if you can forgive my folly and not seeing that sooner. Like that's Wentworth's journey. And I don't think we get that here. Instead, we get a camera angle
Yeah.
that is just like under chin,
Up Anne's nostrils.
up Anne's nostrils, and they spend perhaps 45 seconds to 2 minutes about to kiss,
But not quite kissing.
but not quite kissing in a way that is deeply uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable. It's like she's like about to eat his mouth, but she keeps backing up. She's like, "Maybe I will. Maybe I won't.
It's like a little, like it's hard to explain without, like, doing it with my mouth, but she's, like, bobbing her chin up to him and back down and up and back down, and there's a way this could have been done. I think what they're going for here is that she hasn't kissed him in 8 years, and, like, there's a possibility they didn't kiss even when they were engaged the first time, and, like, there's a hesitancy, there's, like, a trepidation there that could be really beautiful, but the way it's filmed and the way it's done is just
And it's just too
it's
long.
way too long.
No, the way we're talking about is giving me anxiety. Like it's
I
giving me
know. It's too much. It's too much. But this was the one thing I had heard about this adaptation before I watched it for the first time, which was that there was a really weird kiss scene at the end. And I was like, it can't be that bad. And frankly, the kiss is not bad at all. It's the moments leading up to the kiss that are insane.
Do you know what's so rogue though? Like I know we'll probably get onto this, but like the bit that comes after this where they go to the house is so beautiful. I'm like, I actually didn't need them to kiss in Bath. Like if it was going to be that awkward, like I'd rather just skip to the scene where they're like,
They're married already.
you know, at the house, they're married, and she like she jumps and he spins her around, and it's like so beautiful. I'm like, that's more romantic. Like the running and the all of that. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
just no.
Well, listen, Anne got a real workout in.
Yeah.
She's wrecked her boots.
She needs a massage.
She's developed a little asthma. She did all that without a sports bra. So honestly, like, good for her.
Yeah. So speaking of the next scene, though, the little button is that they pull up to Kellynch and Anne is blindfolded, and he like guides her out of the carriage, and he's like, "I wondered if you'd like to see your wedding present," and unblindfolds her, and he has in fact bought Kellynch, which I don't know, is that actually possible? I guess maybe it was retrenched, right?
Well, retrenchment is basically like a reorganization proceeding, I think, like where you're like paying off your debts by selling off things and like really minimizing your lifestyle.
I
Like
see.
like you're not paying servants, you're not buying foods, you're not buying garments, like or anything like that until your debts are all paid off. But land that is fee-tailed in Regency era England, you cannot sell. So
Hmm.
you have to inherit it. So either you have to suspend your disbelief and just let it be the sweet thing that's like in a modern adaptation, which is fine.
Yeah.
Or I think one way you could read it is that it's being let by the Crofts and Wentworth they basically let Wentworth take it for her,
Oh, that's nice.
which is also a possibility because they planned for Wentworth to live there.
Oh, right. Right.
Like that he's that they're letting it instead. Essentially, like Wentworth's letting it instead.
Which would make sense. He wouldn't necessarily buy property.
No, I was gonna say a secret third option is that he built an exact replica, but I like this one better.
That's brilliant. Oh my god, can you imagine?
That would be so funny. But yeah, no, then I guess he's just letting it, and she's so happy, and she runs up into his arms, and he spins her around, and they kiss, and then they waltz on the grass in front of Kellynch, and that is the end of the movie.
And that's so cute. Like I love it.
Ugh.
Like I love that they go back to like her house. And I mean, to be fair, like if I was Anne, I really wouldn't want to. Like I know that it has a special place in her heart, but equally, I'd be like, oh my god, no, just in case my dad and sisters like rock up.
Right,
I'd rather not live it. But I do kind of love that ad, and I think this bit's like so romantic. Like it kind of makes up for the like the running thing. But
Yeah,
I'll forever remember this adaptation for the running. Like everyone just says, oh, the one with the running scene.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And I actually think it's kind of a shame because honestly, I think this one would have grabbed me more if it ended right. And like I said at the very beginning, I think it is a serviceable, good adaptation of this story. It has more I like in it than I dislike. But I said this about the last one. I'll say about this one. Someone needs to fucking nail the end of Persuasion for me.
Yeah, I mean, the end was rough, but I actually, aside from like having to suspend my disbelief on the timing of everything and like why would he write her a letter if he was just going to see her anyway?
You liked the marathon?
I didn't hate the marathon, and I didn't hate her panting while the proposal thing was happening.
I didn't mind the panting. I did mind the marathon.
I mean, the marathon was a little wild. I mean, yes, it was unhinged, but I didn't hate it, but I didn't love
I
it.
think it's just the camera. Like, why are we like falling across the floor? Like, I mean, the cameraman was doing the marathon. Like, he was like seriously on it.
You could also cut the running parts of it where she's like runs to Wentworth. Then she like you could see her start running. She gets there. You can see her start running. She gets there.
She stops at a checkpoint to chat to a character. Then she's got to go again.
It's like it just keeps going. All right, it's fine. We're gonna go to the study questions now, starting with our good old movie study questions. Favorite line delivery.
I think I'm gonna give it to and Mrs. Elliot, dead, quite dead.
I'm gonna go earnest on this. Sally Hawkins delivering "We were worse than strangers, for we would never become acquainted"
Oh, sure.
actually really hit hard for me. It was beautifully delivered,
Yeah,
and
she had a lot of good ones.
that is such a gorgeous line. It's such a sad thought.
Yeah.
This is like really hard for me. Like I'm trying to I feel like I said one like midway through and I was like, oh my God, I love this. And I don't even know why I love this moment. I can't remember which one it was now. But I do love Sally's ones. I love her deliveries of like the lines where she's like, I will speak to like my sex. The whole
Oh, yeah, great pick.
who loves longest debate. Like I love that debate. Like that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
All I will take for my sex is that we love when all hope is lost. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
beautiful.
There's also an honorable mention here for Miss Anne Elliot
Ah,
on the beach with Captain Harville.
that's actually a great pull.
Yes. Oh, wait, was that the one? I think that was the one that I said. I think that's the one I said earlier. I was like, oh my God, this is my favorite line when he says that and he's like side eye.
Oh, wait, I do remember you saying something was your favorite line delivery. Wait,
That was
was
it.
that
That was
it?
literally it. It was like the one where he's like side eye and he's like,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Perfect moment. Most notable change from book to movie.
Everything's out of order. Nothing's in the right spot.
Yeah, I think the bisecting of the scene about the sexes and the letter is a big one.
For me, is that we don't get the whole like storyline from like Mrs. Smith and all of that's not like properly dealt with because I think that's important.
I agree, and it's a real shame, and I think it detracts from some of the themes of the story.
We almost have no villain.
Yeah.
If we just watch this adaptation, we almost have no villain, which is like fair. We don't always need a villain, but equally like Austen made great villains, so don't
Yeah.
use them.
One change I liked was Harville being in on Wentworth's undying love for Anne, which is not in the book. That was a good change.
Yeah, I liked that.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, we love it. We love the bromance for sure.
Yes, a highlighting of the bromance.
And rip Charles Hayter. Like we just never see him. So
Rip Charles Hayter.
bummer for me.
Yeah. Let's start with least favorite things about the adaptation before we end on like more positive notes.
Yeah, my least favorite thing was the shaky cam, and not just at the end, but like the shaky cam was in a lot of it, and it was just a little bit. It made me kind of dizzy. I didn't hate it stylistically. Like I thought it was kind of unhinged and funny and made it a little bit campy, but I wish it was like a little bit more intentional. Like it was just kind of all over the place.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with what was my least favorite in the last adaptation, which I think is just gonna continue to be a thing for me. You messed up the ending. And in this one it was particularly egregious for me because I think like the way in which Anne and Wentworth find their way back to each other is so beautifully done in the book. It's one of the best like finales I've read in a book. And I am so bummed that this was not done correctly here. Yeah, that just continues to bug me.
Yeah, I think based off like our conversation, one thing that's sticking with me is like that Wentworth doesn't have that flirtatious side, like that kind of Frank Churchliness that I would like to see
Yeah.
as well. I think coming through because I think that does add another dynamic to his character. I think they're two characters, Anne and Wentworth, are so hard to get right, but you have to get them right to actually show why they would have fallen in love in the first place. Because if you don't get it right, it kind of looks like what are they bonding over? Like it's difficult for us to gauge it.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my favorite part of this adaptation, which is Sally Hawkins as Anne, because that is, I agree, an incredibly difficult character to make work, and her nuance and like she is both magnetic and understated the entire movie, and that is so difficult. Like she's like very understated without being dull. She's sweet without being weak. Like I think she's really fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, she's phenomenal. My favorite aspect of the movie was her and Wentworth's chemistry because I felt like every moment with them was very tense and very charged. And also Mary as comic relief, as always.
Yeah, I love that they keep some of just like really iconic lines from Anne. Like there's so many incredible parts of Persuasion that I think we lose in adaptations because I think a lot of like directors or like in the screenwriting they think, oh, we can't include this because it sounds too booky, if that's even a word, booky. Like we can't include it in because we're basically just like describing what's happening as opposed to showing it. But I actually appreciate that in this one they actually do keep in a lot of like full segments because I think it's important for us to actually be fully immersed in what Anne's feeling.
And they do so without sort of sacrificing the compelling nature of the character,
Yeah.
or having her say it out loud to someone, which would really mess with the story.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Who wins the adaptation?
Sally Hawkins.
I'm gonna go somewhat different only because I just said Sally Hawkins for my favorite part. We didn't talk about it much, but the score in this is lovely.
So
It's
good.
such an energy.
Yeah.
Yes. I like Harville in this one. Not gonna
Yes.
lie. Yeah, he's so good.
That's an excellent pick.
I'm glad he gets a lot of time.
Yeah.
That's an excellent pick. And like Harville, like bringing them both together, really being the like wingman of the century. All right, listeners, that concludes our coverage of 2007 Persuasion. Izzy, thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I've had such a good time discussing this. But yeah, so my podcast, What the Austen, is on all podcasting platforms and on YouTube if you prefer to see the camera and see us on video. And then Izzy Meakin is my personal YouTube channel where I share Jane Austen vlogs and video essays and things. And then just on Instagram at What the Austen. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has literally been such a blast. I loved this conversation, and I'm very proud of us for getting it in 2 episodes this time.
Me too. And for next time, listeners, we're covering a little very well loved adaptation of Persuasion that was done in 2022 that stars Dakota Johnson. I don't know if it's come up at all in our podcast, but we hear people really like it. So it's going to be really fun to cover. But until next time, stay proper.
And write amazing letters.
Pod and Prejudice is edited by Molly Burdick and audio produced by Graham Cook. Our show art is designed by Torrance Brown. Our show is transcribed by SpeechDocs Podcast Transcription. For transcripts and to learn more about our team, check out our website at podandprejudice.com. To keep up with the show, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Pod and Prejudice. If you love what you hear, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/podandprejudice to see how you can support us, or just drop us a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.